Tucker, our dog. And this morning I was contemplating this idea of authenticity, or rather rawthenticity, which I seem to display a great deal of, being kind of overly raw. And it came up the other day when somebody said, like, how come you curse? You know, like, your message could be better if you didn't curse, you know, as much. And I'm like, I know, man, I know. And I wanted to share a story about rawthenticity. When I first became a spiritual practitioner, we were in this classroom, and the teacher said, "Hey, Tuck, quiet on the set." That's what I like to say to my kids too. Instead of saying "shut up," I say "quiet on the set." It doesn't work for dogs or kids. So, but anyway, we were in class, and the teacher said we were about to be licensed as spiritual practitioners, and the teacher said, "What's your greatest fear about becoming a teacher of spiritual practices?" And they all went around the room, and some people were like, "I'm afraid that I won't make any money at this," you know. And some people said, "I'm afraid that people will think I'm a weirdo, you know, that I'll you know, be considered a weirdo for being a spiritual person." And when she got to me, she said, "What's your greatest fear?" And I said, "My greatest fear is that I won't be able to curse or wear tube tops." And everyone in the class laughed, but I was like, that's a fucking real fear. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, that's my fear. And I knew that underneath that was the idea that I would have to be different. Like, I would have to change my ways, or I would have to, you know, change something about myself in order to be, you know, considered appropriate or good enough to be a teacher of love, or good enough to be a spiritual person. And there was a fear within me that thought, I will never get that shiny. Like, I will never be a shiny penny for God. I will always be sort of this rough-edged Jersey girl. And so that was a fear. That was my real fear. And after I got licensed, I moved into, you know, teaching and giving talks. And what I noticed about myself was that wasn't just my only fear. I had another fear, which was I would cry. Like, I was very close to my tears. As an actress, I guess I had easy access to it, but I was like, I would drive home from, you know, engagements and be like, what the hell? Like, why can't I just have, you know, be like, you know, smooth and slick and Teflon, you know? Marianne Williamson is like one of my way showers. And I always thought, like, she's not like crying all over the place. Like, what the fuck's wrong with me? And I would beat myself up, and I'd be like, you're such a baby. Like, that's what I'd say to myself on the car ride home. And then the other thing I noticed about myself is that I laugh too much. The most embarrassing thing is I laugh at my own fucking jokes. Like, how embarrassing is that? Like, I'm doing it right now. And I have these big old teeth. They're like, and it's like, what? Like, why can't I be cool? Right? So these are my fears, that I laugh, that I cry, and that I curse. And so part of the course that I teach a course called A Course in Creating Living Your Unapologetic Life. And I had to get to the place where I stopped apologizing for who I was. And, you know, the truth is I was, you know, kind of embarrassed about laughing and crying, but when it comes to cursing, I kind of like it, you know? I have to be honest with you, I kind of like cursing. You know, you can take the girl out of Jersey, but don't try and make her stop fucking cursing. You know, I hold space for people in reality. And reality isn't pretty. It isn't always pretty. Like, sometimes people are, you know, in the midst of delivering something, and it's like watching a woman deliver a baby, and it can be messy, and there can be lots of tears and crying and cursing. And, you know, I can't say to somebody, like, can you talk pretty right now? You know what I mean? Like, I have to be able to stand in the fire with them. And so if I'm going to do that for others, I got to allow myself to become rawthentic as well. The truth is, when I curse, it kind of makes me feel like I'm taking my bra off, you know that feeling where you're like, without a bra, feeling free, feeling unencumbered, feeling unbridled. That's an important thing. The last thing I want to mention about this is, as we allow ourselves to come authentic to the conversation, we're going to have way less real problems. My daughter told me about this spiritual teacher the other day who was a yogi. And he had he'd taken the vow of chastity, and which is always a great idea. And he had some sexual issues with young women. We've seen this all over the place. We see it in the Catholic Church, but it's not, just there. It's, apparently in yogi communities, and it's in, all kinds of communities where people take a vow of chastity and then they go around fuck everybody, and it's like, if we hide our shadow self, it's going to come up like a tiger and bite us in the face. The idea is, instead of to hide our shadow self, to embrace it. This is who I am. This is me with all my warts and riddles. I'm a sexual being. I'm a messy being. I am a complicated being. I'm a human being. I am a human being. This is what this fucking looks like as a human being. And you're a human being, So we have warts and riddles, and I think it's helpful for us not to deny that. Like, to look at our fears, to look at our more ragged and jagged places, and to embrace that, to embrace even that. Can we love even that? So that's my fucking story today, my friends.
I wanted to add one other thing. When we begin to teach our children that there are bad words, the next easy step is to convince them that there are bad people and things. And this is where the domestication actually begins. And if there's bad people, then there can be the separation between you and me. And so I like to say that there are no bad words, bad people, or bad things. They're all neutral. It's our judgment that makes them, that gives them the meaning that we've given them. And so it's best if we try and dismantle the idea of bad and good, and just be with a more detached relationship of it just is.
I will try to stop cursing. There's no way. I've given up alcohol. I've given up smoking. Things I thought I could never give up.